Hi, I'm Catherine and I'm a naturopath. Today we are going to talk about what your poo tells you about your health. Your bowel motions are not only just something that you have to do every day, this is where your body does most of its detoxification. So the state of how your bowel motions are tells you a lot about not only your digestive health, but the health of your whole body, as if you're not detoxifying well and eliminating those toxins daily, they can cause trouble throughout the rest of your body. Okay, so we're going to be looking at 4 things. What is the colour of your bowel motion, the consistency, the smell. There's lots of things that we can know that can tell us about it. If you hang on to the end of the video, I'll also give you some tips on how to support your bowel motions and have really good detoxification and elimination going on through your body to really have a big impact on your whole health. So many people think that as long as they're going regularly, everything must be fine. And it really depends on what they think fine is. We often don't talk to people about what our bowel motions are like, and so we don't really have a good reference for what a good bowel motion should look like and how you can eliminate in a healthy way. So the first thing we want to look at is frequency. So ideally you would be going 1 to 3 times a day. Now in that we want to see no straining and a feeling of complete emptying. If you have a sensation that you haven't emptied your bowels properly, you probably haven't, and they should pass easily. And so it can indicate that you are dehydrated, that your diet is low in fibre, and then there's things like stress and hormones that can also influence this. All right, so there's a tool called the Bristol stool chart, and for anyone who works in aged care, you're all over this, but basically it's a numbering system through to hard, lumpy, rabbit poo kind of stool through to gravy. But you want to be in the centre, like a sausage, well formed, smooth. If it is hard and lumpy or cracked, it can indicate that your stool is moving through too slow. And if it's sloppy like gravy, it can mean that it is moving through too fast. And ideally you want it to be the colour of dairy milk chocolate. So a darker stool, unless you're on iron supplements, can usually mean that it is moving through too slow, and a lighter or yellow stool can mean that it's moving through too fast. The other thing to notice that if it does always float, it can indicate that you're not digesting fats well. As you know, oils float when you put them in water. Similarly, if your stool hasn't digested your fats well, it will hide behind those oils and it will float on the water. So that tells me some information about the state of your gallbladder. If your gallbladder isn't functioning well, it can mean a floating stool. Now that doesn't mean you need to go out and have your gallbladder removed. There are some great herbs and supplements and foods that we can do to improve the state of your gallbladder. So it might be good to be checked out either by a natural health practitioner or a doctor if you do find that you are struggling to pass bowel motions regularly, if you're constipated, or if they are very loose and there is very frequent bowel motions. Both of them are not good for your health. The other thing to look out for if there is mucus in your stool or blood in your stool, or it is very dark. Very dark can also mean blood further up the colon. You want to get that investigated and just make sure there's nothing sinister going on with your bowels. The other thing we want to be looking at is the smell. So this doesn't include when you've had a poor diet the day before, but generally if your stool smells particularly offensive, or if you have flatulence that's particularly offensive, it does indicate a bad bacterial imbalance. So that's something to look out for as well in your stool. All right, so what can you do to improve your bowel motions? Generally, fibre is really important. It is really important for both loose bowels as well as constipation, because fibre, particularly from fruit and vegetables and whole grains, is what the bacteria in your gut feeds on. And so we want a variety of vegetables, as many different vegetables, herbs, spices, that you can add into your diet, you're going to have a better stool quality and better gut bacteria. You can also add fermented foods to this, so things like kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha, kefir, miso soup, any of those things are really good for improving the quality of your stool. You need to make sure you drink plenty of water. So if you're dehydrated, there's not enough fluid to pull that stool through and you'll be stuck. There's other things you can do that by not eating. So overeating and eating a lot of white refined carbohydrates such as white flour products, so white bread, white bakery products, they don't have the fibre to move your bowel through well. So look for whole grains and make sure your diet is high in fruit, vegetables and water. So just two more things to think about is exercise. So moving your body, it actually does help to move that stool through. So that's an important thing to do, and make sure you are chewing your food well and eating in a calm, relaxed environment. Your body actually doesn't release the digestive enzymes it needs if you're eating in a hurry. So you want to make sure that you're doing that, and so that really helps to make sure everything's doing well. So if you aren't someone who normally has a look in the toilet after you've passed a bowel motion, I encourage you to do this. Check this out, see what you notice, and see if you do notice changes as you improve your diet. And I wish you well as you learn more about your digestion. Have a good day. Bye.